Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of List Mania. I'm Chris Emma, alongside my teammate Tim Kelly, who also writes with PhilliesNation.com. And he just wrote recently a list of the top 10 right fielders in Major League Baseball. So, Tim, thanks for joining me.
I'm excited. I love writing these lists and discussing them. It's really one of my favorite things.
I do too. I love diving into these, and this one got my attention, of course. So let's get right to it here. We'll start from 10 down, and you had number 10 is Red Sox right fielder Alex Verdugo. I'm not quite sure on that one, but, he had a good year in 2020, so I was okay with that one. 9 was Teoscar Hernandez, another guy who had a strong 2020 season. Another one where, talking about short sample size in 2020, I understand it. He's got to prove a lot more in 21. So moving on from there, Max Kepler, the Twins at number 8. Guy who had a down year in 2020, but had some pretty good years of performance before that one. I'd say my only really complaint about this 10 through 8 is the lack of a Charlie Blackmon, for example. Tim, what was your reasoning for not having him there as opposed to two guys who had small sample size of good and bad?
Well, Charlie Blackmon was probably the first guy off the list. He got off to a scorching hot start last year. There was talk about him potentially hitting 400. It didn't happen. He had a swoon really in the second half of the season, and I believe some of his defensive metrics have gone down quite a ways as well. So Charlie Blackmon was the first guy off this list, and certainly someone that still brings value.
You didn't say what I was afraid you were going to say, which is that you were going to hold Coors Field against him. I was worried that was coming, so credit to you, you didn't say it. I would certainly not hold that against him the same way I wouldn't hold that against Nolan Arenado, but I would certainly have him as high as 8 or even 7. I think he's proven himself recently, since really 2015 when he broke out as one of the better right fielders in baseball. And I know he's moved over from center field a couple of years ago. The defensive abilities have been slipping a little bit, but anybody who's willing to hit 300 at this day and age in baseball, I'm all for it. So I guess that's the first sticking point I would put out there. If you had to reconsider, is there any way you would? Have you thought about it any differently, I guess?
No, I don't think so, because my idea in making these lists is to try to project what you get in 2021. So I think Charlie Blackmon probably will be the 11th best right fielder, and a lot of these other guys that we're talking about, Max Kepler's been around, he's in a good lineup, but Verdugo and Teoscar Hernandez are guys that are reaching their prime, approaching their prime. I think Charlie Blackmon is someone coming out of his prime.
Right, I'm good with that. Now, number 7 here is Mike Yastrzemski. I love that one. I've been a big Yaz fan. I feel you can't hold it against him that, he's a late blooming guy. A guy broke into the big leagues in his late 20s, and obviously he's produced well. A 295 average last season. I'm all for that one. I could even argue maybe as high as 6 or 5. But my main sticking point here, man, Aaron Judge. I feel like, and I want to hear your reasoning first, but I'm going to assume you're holding the injuries against him a little bit. Is that true?
I'm absolutely holding the injuries against him because of a possible 384 games over the last 3 seasons. Aaron Judge has played in just 242. This is not a case of someone that had 1 or 2 years. This has been a consistent trend. He is a Hall of Fame caliber player when he's healthy, but he hasn't consistently stayed healthy. And if you look at the 5 names that I put above him, they are guys that have typically stayed healthy, and they're all all-star caliber players. So it's not as though I snuck someone that's an unknown above him. I snuck other guys that are legitimate players in front of him. I think he'd probably be number 3 if not for the injuries. But it's hard to excuse the injuries when you've had 3 straight years now.
I just don't think it's right to hold the injuries against the guy. You said Hall of Fame level player when he's healthy. If we're arguing the best right fielders, I don't think you can have the asterisk of if, ands, or buts if he's out there. He's had a horrible run of injuries, of course, the hit by pitch in 2019, the injury last season, running down the bases. I know that, the soft tissue injuries, you worry about that for a guy who's 6'7", 280 or so. But I'm just not going to hold that against him.
The thing I would say, though, is with Aaron Judge, we're not talking about somebody that regularly misses 15 games a season. We're talking about somebody that's missing 40, 50, 60 significant chunks. He's now had 3 seasons where that's been the case, and really only 1 season where he's consistently stayed healthy. So again, it wouldn't shock me. You see guys like Michael Brantley that had a run of injury seasons, and then they stay healthy and they reemerge as one of the very best at their position. I think Aaron Judge needs to prove that this year.
Yeah, but you mentioned that one season he was healthy, 2017. He was top 10 WAR in all of baseball. I mean, he was one of the best players in baseball. And, second in the MVP voting, you could certainly argue he was the MVP that season. I'm still willing to look at him as that 2017 guy, and the guy who, when he's been healthy, when he's been out there, he's been that level of player. I know it's not really the right way to do it, but you could multiply or spread out his numbers over 162 as opposed to the 120 or 110 it's been, and he's that level player. I can't look past the performance of when he's out there. He's that good. I guess we got to agree to disagree on this one. Number 5, Michael Conforto of the Mets. I'm not quite sold on that one. He's had some good seasons. I know the projections, everything everybody hoped he would be, but there's no way Aaron Judge is the lesser right fielder in New York right now. It's been cool to see Conforto's rise, and he's a key part of a Mets team that I think is going to be pretty dang good in 21, but I'm still going Aaron Judge.
I mean, I would rather have Michael Conforto, who this is not a one-year thing with Michael Conforto. He hit 322 in the 2020 season. 2 years ago in the full 162, he hit 33 home runs and drove in 92 RBIs. So this is not someone that I would take over Aaron Judge if Aaron Judge is playing 162. But if I know that Aaron Judge has had a history of only playing 110 and I can get 162 of all-star caliber Michael Conforto, and there's a much better chance he stays healthy, I'm going to take the sure thing.
Number 4 with Bryce Harper, with Yelich had 3. I have no arguments with Betts 1, Soto 2. You watch the Phillies every day. You work for PhilliesNation.com, writing for them. What can you tell us about how you came to the conclusion of Harper over Yelich? Because I can't look past I still believe Harper is that top 3 level player and arguably one of the best players in baseball. I know, the average hasn't quite met some of the other numbers, and I'm a new age baseball guy, but I still have a little bit of respect for batting average. I just can't get away from that. Obviously, the WAR speaks for itself. He's been one of the best players in baseball, certainly one of the best right fielders in baseball. Is your Harper with Yelich there, is that more of a respect to Yelich or more of kind of down on Harper's play?
It's a respect to Yelich. And really, I shouldn't have put Yelich on the right fielders list as much because he is playing left field. The thing is, he's been terrible in left field and is a much better right fielder. So I still think of him as a right fielder. But if you're talking about people on opening day that are going to be right fielders this year, Bryce Harper will be it. And he's someone that he had an excellent first season in Philly. And then he got off to a scorching hot start last season. But then he had a back injury, and he told us last week that by the end of the season, he could barely throw a baseball. That's how much it was bothering him. He could hit, but he couldn't throw the baseball. I think if Bryce Harper is healthy, he's 28 years old, there is no reason this shouldn't be the best season of the 13 years that he spent in Philadelphia. He is at what should be his peak. I think Juan Soto and Mookie Betts are all-time players, but I think Bryce Harper's a Hall of Fame caliber player. So it's more respect to Christian Yelich because in the 2 years prior to that, he won the MVP, and then he finished second in the MVP voting despite missing the last month of the season. So Christian Yelich since 2018, even with a bad 2020 season, has been probably a better player than Bryce Harper, but it's not a diss to Bryce Harper by any means.
Well, first of all, it's crazy that Bryce Harper is still just 28 years old. And really, like you said, he might just be entering his prime. As good as he's been breaking into the big leagues a decade ago, and he's been this level player. So, Tim, I think we found our solution. We moved Yelich over to the left fielder, right? Move a Judge up to 5 where I want him. You slide Blackmon in at the top, and I think we're set. Solved it all.
I don't know about the Blackmon part, but I think I can move Judge up to 5 because I move Harper to 3 and Conforto to 4. That's probably my solution, and then Blackmon comes in somewhere around 9 or 10.
Speaking of that left fielders list, it just kind of spoke to me how good we are in baseball at the right fielder position and how kind of less it is at the left fielder position. That's another debate. That's another list Mania we'll have to discuss. Tim, thanks for joining me.
I appreciate it, Chris.